Now, what is your favorite ASUS GPU of all time? This year we're starting to celebrate 30 years of ASUS GPUs. There's going to be many activities and giveaways going on, and the very first one will be asking you what is your favorite amongst all the ASUS graphics cards ever released. It doesn't have to be the most powerful, it has to be a GPU that is meaningful to you, that allows you to play your favorite games, maybe a GPU that you simply love the looks of. There will be 4 winners picked amongst all those that share their favorite memories of their favorite ASUS GPU, and the event period starts now. This is the time to submit your memories. You can do so until August 18th, then voting will happen to September 16th, and the winners will be announced October the 28th. During the entire campaign, users can participate in other activities to get prizes as well. There will be quite a few surprises I can't talk about right now. Now, it all started with the legendary ASUS 375. It featured the S3 Verge chip, which some of you might remember if you're old enough. I know I am. ASUS has pretty much been making GPUs ever since, and they have definitely helped set the scene for some of the most iconic designs and most interesting applications of technology and performance that we've seen. Now, fast forward 30 years after the ASUS 375, and we have something like the ASUS 50 series, where you can find the Astro line, the 5090, the water-cooled LC edition, even a DeHaab 5090 Astral edition with real gold. These are the top of the line of modern GPUs. Now, in between these two edges, we have 3 decades of graphics that we are planning to celebrate now. I was challenged to talk about my favorite ASUS GPU ever, and simply picking one was very, very challenging. Now, I thought about the 1080 Ti Strix, definitely one of the GOATs, I think you will agree. I considered the GTX 780 Ti, the Matrix Platinum. That one was a beast, but I never did own that one, unfortunately. I ended up choosing a GPU that I feel has the best of both worlds. So it had solid performance at launch. It featured a lot of new NVIDIA tech that we are still talking about and using today, 7 years later.
Ladies and gentlemen, 10 years in the making. The GeForce RTX 20 series.
And even today, it's a GPU that I think can still hold up decently well performance-wise, and the same can't really be said for the vast majority of GPUs that are just slightly older. Meet the ASUS ROG Strix 2080 OC. Both the 2080 and 2080 Ti in some ways aged really well and can actually be decent purchases, even today, depending on what you're looking for and how much you can get them for, obviously. That's one of the beauties of the PCMR. There's an ample used market that can allow for builds that make sense to you. Hold up, let's dive into what made it special. So this baby had a boost clock almost 10% above reference at 1860 MHz, but in OC mode it could reach 1890 MHz. But this baby right here is an overclocking beast, so we could play around with it quite a bit and reach even higher speeds. This GPU has a TDP of what we now think of as a modest 215 watts. It uses 2 8-pin power connectors, has a beefy cooler, but I think it's still thin enough that it can be considered very elegant as well. And it has what I feel is a very tasteful presentation of RGB. It has dual BIOS with a physical toggle in the card itself, so you can switch modes on the fly. And it has an actual LED on and off button in the backplate. Now, this was the first series of cards to support DirectX 12 Ultimate, and this was actually the first time that we saw a serious effort to promote the application of AI research to home graphics. Deep learning supersampling, which we usually refer to now as just DLSS, this is where it was born.
Calling the NVIDIA DLSS, Deep Learning Supersample.
And you know what else was born right about now? RTX. These are the very first RTX branded cards ever launched. Now, this is used to render in real time the physical behavior of light and reflections and create, hopefully, more realistic graphics in games and applications. So this GPU used RT cores, Tensor cores. It had not only DLSS, but also RTX technologies that many years later are still at the forefront of many of the discussions we all have about GPUs and graphics. Now, the most important part, the games. I used this to play some of my favorite games of the time, including Metro Exodus, Control Flight Simulator, also low-spec gems like Disco Elysium. That was a great game. That don't really need something quite as powerful as this, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. So this was my memory about possibly my favorite ASUS GPU of yesteryear, although I think there are quite a few that could have been featured here. Now, make sure to submit your memory before August the 18th. Let's celebrate this anniversary. Hopefully you can win some prizes while at it. And I cannot wait to see what ASUS has in store for the next, well, here's to 30 more years.